Beloved, when the Master opened his mouth and declared the eternal words, I am, he was not giving a title, he was unveiling a revelation that shakes the inside of a man until everything weak, fearful, and unbelieving is driven out. The moment you truly grasp why Jesus declared I am, something begins to shift within you. A divine awakening starts. Now the old plough, its nitdure trembles, the chains of darkness lose their grip, and the Spirit of God rises like a mighty fire in your chest. When the revelation of I am awakens your true spiritual identity and dissolves every lie you believed about yourself, something begins to shift so deeply within you that you can hardly recognize the person you used to be. Most people wander through life trying to define themselves by their past, their mistakes, their upbringing, or the labels placed upon them by others. But when Jesus speaks the words, I am, he is not simply introducing himself, he is revealing the atmosphere that begins forming inside the believer when they finally understand who stands at the center of their faith. The revelation of I am does not merely change the way you think. It alters the foundation of your identity. Suddenly you are confronted with the reality that your life is not built on your own strength, your own wisdom, or your own righteousness, but on the one who has no beginning, no end, no weakness, and no limitations. This revelation begins working like spiritual fire inside your inner man. Every lie that told you you were not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough, or not capable enough begins to melt away. When I am becomes clear, inferiority loses its voice. All those years you carried fear, insecurity, and self-doubt begin to seem foreign, because the voice of the eternal Christ is louder than the echoes of your past. It is not self-esteem that rises in you, it is Christ-esteem, the awareness that your value, identity, and purpose are anchored in the one who never changes. The revelation of I am exposes the smallness of the lies the enemy whispered to you for years. Lies like you can't, you'll fail, you're alone, you're not chosen, you don't matter. All of them collapse under the weight of the truth that the great I am lives in you. As this revelation grows, you start to see that you are not defined by what happened to you, but by the one who redeemed you. You realize you are not shaped by the world's opinions, but by heaven's declaration. You begin to speak differently because the truth inside you is different. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into the expectations of others and start rising into the identity God spoke over you before the foundations of the world. This is not arrogance, it is awakening. The moment I am becomes real, you recognize that you were never meant to live in spiritual poverty or emotional defeat. You were created to reflect the glory of the one who breathed life into your spirit. The revelation of I am becomes like a mirror that shows you who you truly are. You are no longer a sinner trying to win God's approval. You are a child of God who has already been accepted. You are no longer a broken vessel trying to hide the cracks. You are a vessel of power filled with divine purpose. You are no longer wandering without direction. You are carried by the one who is the way. You are no longer drowning in confusion. You are guided by the one who is the truth. You are no longer dependent on your own strength. You are empowered by the one who is the life. The words I am become the anchor of your identity, pulling you out of the fog of old thinking and into the clarity of who God designed you to be. And as this truth grows inside you, your confidence begins to look different. It is not the confidence of someone trying to prove themselves. It is the quiet, steady, unshakable confidence of someone who knows they belong to the Eternal One. You stop second guessing yourself because you stop second guessing God's choice to use you. You stop apologizing for the anointing you carry because you understand that it did not come from you. It came from the I Am who lives inside you. Every day becomes an opportunity to walk in a truth that is bigger, deeper, and stronger than your emotions. Every battle becomes a place where the revelation inside you speaks louder than the intimidation outside you. And every step forward becomes proof that the lies that once held you have lost their power because the I Am has awakened your true identity within you. When you grasp who Jesus is, internal limitations break and boldness rises where fear once lived. Most people live their entire lives imprisoned by invisible walls inside their own mind's walls, built from past failures, wounds, disappointments, and the opinions of others. These walls are not physical, yet they are powerful enough to hold a person back for decades. But the moment you truly see Jesus for who he is, not just a historical figure, not just a religious symbol, but the living, present, all-powerful Christ, those walls begin to shake. Something in your spirit begins to expand. The small container you once lived in no longer fits you. When Jesus becomes real to you, truly real, you cannot stay small on the inside. The revelation of Jesus is not passive, it is explosive. It dismantles fear at its root. Fear is built on uncertainty, but Jesus is certainty. Fear is built on weakness, but Jesus is strength. Fear is built on abandonment, but Jesus is the one who said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." So when you grasp who he is, fear loses its foundation. You stop imagining yourself alone in the storm and begin to see him standing in the boat with you. You stop picturing yourself as outnumbered and start realizing heaven is backing you. This understanding doesn't come from more willpower. It comes from revelation. It is the moment your spirit says, "If he is who he says he is, then I don't have to live like this anymore." And as this revelation settles deeper, boldness rises, not worldly confidence, not arrogance, but a holy boldness rooted in knowing who walks with you. Boldness is not loudness, it is certainty. It is the quiet inner assurance that every step you take is supported by the one who conquered death. It is that shift inside where you no longer feel intimidated by challenges because you recognize that Jesus is not only Savior, he is authority. The same Jesus who spoke to the wind speaks into your heart. The same Jesus who healed the leper breathes courage into your spirit. The same Jesus who overturned the power of darkness now empowers you to overturn the limitations that tried to suffocate your destiny. Boldness rises because revelation removes excuses. Once you see Jesus clearly, excuses lose their power. You can no longer say, "I'm too weak," because he is your strength. You can no longer say, "I'm too broken," because he is your healer. You can no longer say, "I'm not enough," because he is the I Am. The more you understand who he is, the more you discover who you are in him. This inner awakening creates a spiritual courage that cannot be manufactured by positive thinking or motivational speeches. It is birthed through encounter. As boldness rises, your perspective changes. You stop approaching life as someone trying to survive and start stepping forward as someone called to overcome. You begin making decisions from faith instead of fear. You start speaking words that reflect heaven rather than repeating the language of insecurity. You feel a confidence you didn't earn, a confidence that flows from the presence of Jesus in you. It is the kind of confidence that stands firm in the face of adversity, not because you feel strong, but because you know he is strong in you. You begin to realize that the limitations you lived under were never God's limitations. They were self-made prisons. But revelation breaks the prison door open. Suddenly, you feel permission to dream bigger, pray bolder, and step into territories you once avoided. You feel an inner invitation saying, "Go forward, I am with you." The fear that once controlled your decisions begins to evaporate. The hesitation that held you back begins to lose its grip. The self-doubt that whispered in your ear begins to grow silent. Boldness becomes your new atmosphere. You wake up with purpose, you walk with intention, you speak with conviction. You face challenges with the understanding that victory is not just possible, it is promised. And even when you feel afraid, something deeper inside you overrides that fear. A voice rises within that says, "Keep going, keep believing, keep moving, Jesus is with you." That is the power of revelation. That is the transformation that happens when you truly grasp who Jesus is. The limitations that once controlled you fall apart, and a supernatural boldness begins to rise where fear once lived. When the presence of the I Am shifts your inner atmosphere, bringing clarity, authority, and divine purpose, your entire internal world begins to change in ways you may not have even known were possible. There is a difference between knowing about God and being touched by His presence. There is a difference between believing intellectually and encountering Him spiritually. The moment His presence becomes real inside you, the confusion that once clouded your mind starts to lift, because the light of the I Am begins to expose what is true and dissolve what is false. You suddenly become aware that clarity is not something you chase. It is something that flows from being aligned with the One who is truth itself. Every fog of indecision, every cloud of doubt, every lingering hesitation begins to fade when the presence of Christ fills the inner chambers of your heart. His presence does not merely give you answers. It becomes the atmosphere where answers naturally rise. This inner clarity is not the result of logic or self-analysis. It is the result of divine alignment. When the I Am enters your atmosphere, He brings heavenly order into the chaos that once controlled your thoughts. You begin to see things differently, not from the lens of fear or insecurity, but from the lens of heaven's reality. Suddenly, decisions that once felt impossible become simple because you can sense the direction God is pulling you toward. You feel conviction where there used to be confusion. You feel stability where there used to be emotional storms. You feel peace where there used to be pressure. This is the supernatural clarity that comes when His presence shifts the environment within you. And along with clarity, authority rises. Not human authority, not ego, not self-importance, but spiritual authority that comes from understanding who stands inside your spirit. The presence of the I Am carries weight, it carries dominion, it carries power. And when that presence saturates your inner world, you stop feeling like a victim to circumstances and begin recognizing the authority God has given you to speak, to stand, and to resist anything that tries to oppose what God has declared over your life. This authority is not loud or aggressive. It is steady and unshakable. It is the inner knowing that you are not fighting alone. It is the awareness that the One who commands angels also commands your steps. This authority begins to manifest in your words. You stop speaking from fear and start speaking from faith. You stop echoing the lies of the enemy and begin declaring the truth of God with boldness. You feel a firmness in your voice, a fire in your prayers, a confidence in your declarations, because the presence of the I Am transforms your inner voice. You begin to speak like someone who knows heaven is backing every word that aligns with His will. This is not forced. It is the natural result of carrying His presence within. The more aware you become of Him, the more you step into the authority that belongs to His name. And then purpose begins to awaken in you, not the shallow kind of purpose built on achievements or applause, but divine purpose that shapes your entire life. The presence of the I Am does not just clarify your next step. It reveals the calling woven into your existence. You start to feel pulled toward things that matter. You start sensing what you were created for. There is a stirring in your spirit that tells you your life is not random, not accidental, not small. You feel a weight, a responsibility, a divine assignment rising inside you. It may not come with full details, but it comes with direction. You feel heaven pointing you towards something greater than what you have been living for. This divine purpose fills you with focus. The distractions that once consumed you begin to lose their attraction. The things that used to drain your energy no longer have power over you. You begin prioritizing what aligns with God's plan and letting go of what doesn't. You feel yourself being shaped, sharpened, and strengthened from within. You start understanding that purpose is not something you create. It is something you discover through His presence. And the closer you draw to the I Am, the more your inner world aligns with the destiny He has designed for you. As clarity settles, as authority rises, and as purpose awakens, your inner atmosphere becomes a place of strength rather than struggle. You stop living life reacting to circumstances and begin living out of the divine order within you. You walk differently, think differently, speak differently, because the presence of the I Am has shifted everything on the inside. The battles may not disappear, but the atmosphere within you becomes stronger than the pressure outside you. This is the transformation that takes place when His presence becomes the ruling atmosphere of your life. When you understand I Am, a supernatural confidence begins to rise within you, a confidence no circumstance can overpower, no storm can silence, and no enemy can dismantle. This confidence is not the result of trying harder, nor is it born from human strength or positive thinking.